Hi, Sebastian. Hi, Alice. Hi, Chica. So very warm welcome. Just whilst we're waiting for other people to join in, could you, in the chat box, if you're up for it, let us know where you're joining from. I'm currently in rural Wales, where the Wi-Fi is good. So perhaps you'd like to let us know where you're joining from in the chat box. And then I'll go on to just let you know how this is going to work and how it's going to play out. Great. So we've got someone who's joining us from Turkey. Very warm welcome. Hope you're having a great day there. So Chica, where are you joining us from?
I'm currently in Harlow, so small town just outside of London.
Great, thank you. Alice, where are you joining us from?
I'm in Hackney in East London, so not too far from the new UCL East
oh yes,
campus.
Very exciting campus. Sebastian, hi, how are you doing? And where are you joining us from?
Hi, I am in Trinidad and Tobago, where it's nice and warm and sunny. Quite far.
I'm very jealous. It's not even cold. It hasn't got that going for it in Wales. It's just wet. We've got someone joining us from Canada. I think they know the true meaning of cold right now. I'm guessing it's pretty chilly out there. So very warm welcome. I can see we've got loads of attendees. We're coming through loud and clear. Just to let you know the format and how things are going to work. My name's Kim. I'm the Outreach and Communications Coordinator at UCL Biochemical Engineering. If you have any technical problems, if you can't hear us, if anything's going wrong, then please put it in the chat box. The chat box, you can communicate to everyone on the panelist team, myself, Chica, Alice, and Sebastian. So if there's a problem, put it through there. You can put any questions in the Q&A box. The Q&A box, you can also post your questions anonymously. It means that if you post a question in the Q&A box, we can answer it verbally, or I might actually post a link up or put some text in there if it's more appropriate to what you want to know. So what we'll do is we'll introduce ourselves, explain what we do, and then I'll start off by some of the questions that people have posted in advance. And please pose any questions as you're going along. If you want any clarification or you just want to know anything, that'd be great. We're also going to give you some information and stats about what I can do with a degree from UCL Biochemical Engineering. So now, in the order of people who are in the bar at the top, I'm going to hand over to Chica and ask you to introduce yourself.
Okay, welcome everyone. A big welcome to this webinar. My name is Chica and I'm a teaching focused lecturer in the Department of Biochemical Engineering. I'm also the careers coordinator for the department and the Equality, Diversity, Inclusion Deputy Director. I've been working in the department since 2017, and I did my undergraduate and postgraduate PhD degrees in the department. So I'm happy to take any questions about degrees in the department, even though Sebastian's also here for that, and what you can go on to do after a degree in biochemical engineering. So that's me.
Thank you. Alice, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I'm Alice, and I'm a career consultant in the engineering careers team. And I've also been here since 2017. And so we support students in the department, in the faculty, to develop all careers skills and careers thinking through lots of different opportunities. And so, yeah, you can ask me about questions about the way we support you, as well as, yeah, some information on destinations and where students and graduates tend to go on to.
Great, thank you. Sebastian, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, and I'm Sebastian. I've been with the department since 2019. I'm a second year student. I'm doing the BEng stream. Might be MEng, you'll see. But yeah, that's me.
Fantastic, thank you. Well, what we're going to do is, I was talking to Alice earlier, and Alice has got some information and stats on careers and headline stuff, which she's going to share with us now. So I'll just hand over to you, Alice. Just to remind you, please put your questions in the Q&A box, and we look forward to answering them.
Yeah, I guess as a starting point in where graduates go, I can give you some data from the most recent kind of national survey that we have. Before I do that, I guess I would just caveat it with these can be relatively kind of small numbers and first destinations, and actually careers are much longer than that. And what other people have done doesn't necessarily reflect what you are are going to do. So it's definitely not limiting. But yeah, so we've had our graduates go into the destinations, as you might imagine. So into pharmaceuticals, we've had graduates into Regeneron, into Eli Lilly, Unilever, Lonza, Novartis, GSK. So kind of common pharmaceutical and scientific and technical roles, as you might expect. Some of those job titles include research assistant, bioprocess engineer, research and design engineer, scientist, junior scientific officer. So really staying in the discipline and using directly the skills from biochemical engineering. And we also have students and graduates who go on to further study. So we have, so from the 2017-18 data, which is our most recent national survey, it was a 20% actually. So, and a mix of masters and PhDs, I think. So really kind of interested in moving on and staying into research. And, you know, graduates also kind of go into other disciplines. So whether that's IT and technology, finances, consulting, and so, you know, some of the larger names that you might have heard of JP Morgan, Accenture, the National Audit Office, Lloyds Banking, Candesic, with roles like strategy consultant, business analyst, policy officer. I think we had someone from the Association of Medical Research Charities as well.
I think you might want to.
Oh, sorry.
I think it's clicking on your button there. Cheers.
Thanks, Kim. Apologies. Yeah, so using their skills developed through their degree, and yeah, I guess seeing the undergraduate experience as a real journey that you can learn a huge amount, both technical as well as about yourself and your preferences and interests and the strengths and how you like to use them. And yeah, so we have students and graduates making those decisions. You know, I guess our purpose is to sort of support students and graduates making the best decision for them as they leave.
Great, thank you. Well, I'll tell you what, I think perhaps we should just clarify, you know, we have two broad streams of degree in biochemical engineering. So we've got the BSc stream and we've got the BEng, MEng. Chika, do you want to actually just briefly explain what the difference is between the two degrees and the fact, you know, 3 and 4 year degrees and what that means?
Yeah, sure. So as Kim mentioned, we've got, roughly speaking, 2 streams. And if you do choose to go down the BEng, MEng route, you have the option of either doing a 3-year undergraduate degree in the BEng route, or a 4-year master's undergraduate degree. So what that means is that you end up with an engineering degree at the end of the BEng or the MEng degree. Now, we also have another route, which is the BSc route, that has a couple of degree options on that. For example, the bioprocessing of new medicines is one of them. And there are a couple of other streams as well on the BSc route. And the main focus on that is that it's a scientific route. So you do get the option to do certain modules that are more aligned towards engineering, but the focus is that you come out with a science-based degree. So depending on the route that you want to go down, whether you want to go down to graduate to be an engineering graduate or a science graduate, that would depend on kind of the choices that you might want to make after the degree. But they're both credited degrees. So, and they're both, our graduates do tend to go on to employment after either stream. So it's not limiting, neither of them are limiting.
Cool, thank you. I'll tell you what, Sebastian, I know that you joined the webinar that we did with Sajni Chotai, who's an alumnus of the department, and she had a career in investment banking, and then actually went back to work in bioprocess engineering. I just think, Sebastian, perhaps you'd like to you were at that session. I remember seeing you there. So one of the questions that she was asked were, why did you decide to go into investment banking? And perhaps you'd like to say why people go into investment banking and why it's such an attractive career option for people, but also why maybe she chose to go back into, or chose to go into back into biochemical engineering.
Yeah, I mean, I think across engineering, there are people who just want a solid math-based degree from a top university because it will look good and it'll probably get you a decent investment banking job, which in and of itself, I guess it's a relatively stable source of income and it's pretty high too. But what, and Sajin did do that for a little while. I think she said about 3 years or so, or 2 years. But then she said she found it was too stifling. It hindered innovation, and at the end of the day, I guess it wasn't really fulfilling for her. And I can see that at the end of the day, you're just crunching numbers day in, day out. And she also said it was very, it consumes your life. That's all you do. They call on you. I think law is also like that at big firms. So she said she wanted to do something where she felt like she was making more of an impact. It sounds cliche, but it's really true. And felt more space to innovate. And I think her job title was literally something like innovation director or something. She's back into healthcare. And yeah, it was a very good talk to hear from her.
Cool. I mean, that is available to watch if you're interested. You can go to our YouTube channel. You'll be able to see that that whole webinar. It was very interesting. It was great to have Sajni join again. So I guess we're almost like looking at, we've got sort of, there's some people going to finance, there's consultancy, there's this sort of technical engineering side, bioprocessing, and then some of the people going to begin their own startups, enterprise. Chika, Alice, perhaps you'd like to talk about those four sort of strands where, Sajni first of all went into finance, then went into bioprocessing, but also we've had some really successful startups. Chika?
Yes, so you're right. We have had some really interesting startups. The particular name of the startup that I'm thinking of doesn't come to mind. It was the one that was started with Dan Bracewell in Puridify, yes. That was one of the most recent ones that's doing really well. We have a number of our students or former students involved in the startup of Autolus as well, which is a regenerative medicine cell and gene therapy company that also hires a lot of our graduates as well. So yeah, our department is quite big for startups, particularly because the areas of research are so innovative. So yeah, that's definitely one of the selling points, I think, of our department.
Cheers. Alice, well, from your conversations with students and with potential employers, I mean, those sort of the finance, then the consultancy side, and then the working in the sector, how do people sort of respond to those? What's your feel for it?
I mean, I think it's we see, I guess it's difficult even within those four sort of general sectors. There's still lots of different roles, and I guess we see it on an individual level, people making individual choices about, what's interesting and what's suiting them. Employers definitely value kind of engaged and experienced graduates, so ones who've kind of, and through the degree on the the integrated engineering program, and it's very engaged learning, the UCL graduates are developing the skills that employers like, whatever the role, which is around, can this person kind of like fit into this professional environment, whether it is in a research environment, whether it's in a process engineering environment, whether it's in a analysis realm, whether that's finance or scientific analysis. Can we be confident in this graduate to take this problem, sort of critically analyze it, ask for help when they need it, like discuss with others, share ideas, make some evaluations, make some suggestions on whatever that is. And so employers are really keen to work with UCL engineers, kind of whatever the sector and the job really. And, you know, goodness, the world has changed in the past 12 months, and, you know, technology changes, the problems that we're solving change. And so if for our attendees today thinking about joining, you know, if you're graduating in 4 years, 5 years, you know, whenever that actually happens, who knows what those problems are we'll be solving. And so yes, there's lots of different options and sectors, and we can, from the careers team, and I know Chika puts on lots of different talks as well with industry links that I'm sure she can talk about, to kind of help you understand the what, in like which employers are offering which kind of roles and what that involves. And, you know, there's lots of support to develop the skills to kind of explore that and reflect on actually like what suits you, what you want to be doing. And yeah, just picking up on that enterprise, it's really interesting. And just to kind of signpost the UCL, like there's lots of support for those enterprise skills. So there's UCL is Enterprise and Innovation team that do like boot camps and offer like startup funding, and there's monthly meetups, I think. So my understanding, I'm not personally involved, but like my understanding is there's lots of support to kind of develop and test out those skills, even if you're thinking, I don't know what I'd run a startup about. There's sort of like incubators and boot camps to just be with others who are interested and sort of try it out, I think.
Actually, Chika, I'm going to ask you, do you remember when we had 2 students who actually did a startup to deliver people's luggage to them at festivals? Does anybody else? You don't remember this? This is a great news story. We had two of our NGD students who they had this brilliant idea that going to a festival, it's got a huge carbon footprint because people need to drive there. So they thought, well, if we can take people's luggage in, you know, central London, you just drop it off to us when it's convenient. We'll drop it there. Everyone can get a train or a bus or whatever. You don't all need to go in cars. So festivals liked it, and they said they did it for 1 season. They managed to break even with it, but they thought that really they wanted to be making pharmaceuticals, but they'd learned a lot from the process of actually doing this. And it was like Aaron, and it's a story. It's somewhere archived on our site, but that was really good fun. I think they got to go to a lot of festivals for free as well, which was great for them. So yeah, and we've also got this thing called Ultra Scale Down, which is an endeavour within the department where we're looking at scaling things down to a microscopic level, and that's really interesting for the industry, where you can work with very small amounts of a material when it's very scarce and very valuable. So I think what I'm going to do is we have had a question come in. This was sent earlier, and I think somebody said, could you outline what careers will go to with the bioprocessing of new medicines business and management degree? I think this is, Chika, I'm going to ask you to answer this, because this is the BSc programs have 2 streams: there's business and management and science and engineering. And the module selection in them means that you have the opportunity to sort of go in a different strand, whether you want to work more in science or more in sort of consultancy way. But we've had, because it's a relatively new program, not many people have gone through the cohort, so we can't see big numbers and draw inferences from that. But Chika, perhaps you could actually say, you know, the careers that people do go on to, specifically with the bioprocessing new medicines and business and management.
Yeah. So from what I know about this degree, it's obviously tailored so that people that are studying it have an understanding of the manufacturing of new medicines, as well as the business side of it as well. So what tends to happen is that people that take this degree go into some kind of management consultancy within the biotech sector. Or they tend to go into engineering companies or pharmaceutical companies, but focus more on the business development side of things. So those tend to be the avenues that the graduates from that particular program go into. That's not to say that those that study that particular stream don't go into other related areas, but the degree itself is kind of tailored so that it fills that particular gap. So that tends to be why people take it, as well as what they go into afterwards.
Great, thank you. One of the questions that's been posted before as well is why do so many people go on to do a PhD? Before I ask Chika to answer this, I'm just going to say, Sebastian, could you just give us an overview of your experience of working with the PhDs at UCL Biochemical Engineering, because they've been I know they're quite an important part of the scenarios, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, as you see, my background has our building, Bernard Katz, and we're the only engineering department that has our own building. So that is a big plus, not gonna lie. And the nice thing about that in non-COVID times is that you can bounce into people, lecturers like Chika or PhD students or even higher year students, and you could just bounce into them and talk. And if you have an assignment, you could ask somebody who's, quite nearly an expert or an actual expert in the field. And that has been very cool. I even did work with another PhD student, and they're from all over. This one was from Portugal, on various things, and they have a real wealth of experience in the topic, but also just in general, like scientific skills, like how to write a paper. And it's definitely very rich and a great experience.
Cheers. Okay, Chika, why is it that so many degree students go on to do PhDs, and also do you need to do a PhD, or what's the score with it really?
So yeah, I will start off by saying that you don't need to do a PhD in order to have a successful career in this sector or in any other sector. I think a lot of our alumni that have gone on to do great things, a large portion of them did not do PhDs in our department or at all. So I will start off by saying that it's not necessary, but there's a big retention of students in our department that then go on to do PhDs and MScs and other postgraduate degrees in our department. And it has a lot to do with the innovation that is possible in our department, with it being one of the youngest or most new engineering sectors or engineering departments in the faculty, and one of only, I think, two biochemical engineering departments in the UK. The things that are possible to discover, or things that have not yet been discovered or researched, is kind of what attracts students to stay and go on to do a PhD, to be part of the contribution of that to society. And also, there's a saying that we have in our department that once you come to our department, you don't really leave. You never really leave. And we're very fond of keeping our own. You've gone through the undergraduate system, because we're a small department. We basically all know each other. So we're like a very close community, like a family almost. So it's very easy to then discuss with any of the lecturers or researchers an area that really interests you, and get a feel, even in your undergraduate days, of how it would, or what it would be like to do research in that area. And then that really helps as a springboard for you to get the experience to then go on to do a PhD in the area that you're really interested in. So yeah, I think in a nutshell that explains why we have a lot of students going on to do PhDs in our department.
Thank you. I think it's also worth pointing out that Carol Marshall, she's the head of, I think she's the head of medicine at GSK. She's an alumnus of ours. And she came to an alumni evening we had a couple of years ago, and she said that one of the things that's very exciting about pharma in the UK is that you've got very strong links between academia, government, and the industry. And you find a lot of the people in our department, they will have worked in the industry, and they have very close links to industry. And sometimes people sort of go between roles. And we also have things like the MBI, which is a continual continual professional development, which is integrated into our postgraduate degrees. So we've got people coming from industry and they bring their problems. So we have that link. I think that's something that's very exciting. It's just that there is that link between industry and what we do. So we are very connected to reality. In fact, I think that, one of the other questions that has come up before is, what's here in industry, what's here abroad, how does it work? Chika, do you want to explain what the difference is between year in industry and year abroad, and how you'd go about doing it?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start off with the year in industry. So the way that works is that if you are on the MN stream, you have the opportunity in your 4th year to go and work for a pharmaceutical company in your 4th year of studies. So when you do go to work for them, that 4th year will still count towards your degree, but at the same time, you get experience of working for a year for a company. So we have a number of industrial collaborators in the department. And so you'll get the option as to which one that you want, depending on what your interest is. So if you have an interest in cell and gene therapy, or you have an interest in the manufacturing of biopharmaceuticals, or you have an interest in synthetic biology, you would get a chance to work in an industry or in a company that is tailored towards that, and work there for a year. And in that year, not only will you get to, as I said, gain experience, but you will be taking a few credits in order to make sure that you're staying on top of the academic side of things. But then it's all relative to the application of whatever it is that you're doing in that particular company. So that's the year in industry in a nutshell. You also have year abroad, which I think, as far as I know, Kim, you might know better, I think that's also done in the 4th year. Yeah, and so you get the opportunity to go to, again, one of our collaborating universities abroad in a range of countries, Canada, Japan, across Europe, China. There are, a range of countries that where they have universities that we collaborate with, and the States, obviously. I believe Mexico, there's a university that we collaborate with. So in your 4th year, you can go there and study, essentially, and choose electives associated with the degree in that country as well. So it's great to get that experience of studying abroad. And it's something that our students have found really useful. And you get not just the experience of living abroad and making new connections, and having a whole different way of life as well. You get to understand the education system in another country. So bring that wealth of experience to whatever industry you go into after that. So yeah, that's also really a really good part of the MN degree. And I should note as well, for anyone thinking about doing the BEng degree, like how Sebastian's doing the BEng degree, you have the option when you start the degree after your 1st year, after your 2nd year, to really think about whether you want to graduate with a BEng degree or switch to an MEng degree. So even if you are applying with the BEng degree and you start with the BEng degree, it's not too late to then change your mind a year or 2 in. So the year abroad and the year in industry option will still be there if you do decide to change.
Okay, well, I've got one more question here to go. So if anybody's got, we've got a question that's coming. I'll tell you what, let's see what that one is. So someone's asked if it's possible to transfer into UCL in the 1st year. I'd suggest for that one, I think, actually, Chika, perhaps you can answer that one about whether it's possible to do that, and then we'll come on to that. Any more questions, please put them in the Q&A box. Otherwise, we can go on to our last question, Chika.
So could you say that again? Is it possible
to... Is it possible to transfer into UCL in the 1st year?
Transfer into UCL in the 1st year, so from another university, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that because of the structure of the modules, it's very tailored. So it's not something which is possible because, especially as we're unique in offering the degrees we offer. But is that right?
Um, so I think that if they're talking about transferring from another university to UCL, there is a time grace in the first year, in the first few months of the first term, or the first couple months of the first term, and it would very much depend on the whether you qualify based on what you did for your A levels or equivalent, and your personal statement, you know, the whole process. Um, and you would come and then start the degree afresh. So you would do all the assignments in order to catch up. So as far as I know, there's no kind of transfer of credits in the first year from one university to the next, but there is a time grace. And so after that time grace, you won't be able to transfer. It's similar to if you are transferring from one engineering department to the other, which we do get some engineering departments. So for example, some students that take chemical engineering and decide that they want to switch to biochemical engineering, there's a time grace for that in the first year, in the first couple months. But we don't recommend that you do that, mainly because a lot of the interview stages that you've gone through, what you've written on your UCAS application is very much tailored to the degree that you've chosen to do. So the likelihood is that you would go into that degree and stay in that degree. However, that's why the time grace is there, so that if you do change your mind for whatever reason, and you meet the requirements of the department, that we could take you on. Yeah.
Thank you. So what I'm going to do, the last question is, so the title of this webinar is, what can I do with a degree from biochemical engineering? I think inspirationally, what could you potentially do with a degree from biochemical engineering? And some of the most inspiring things I've seen happen is people go on to actually manufacture a cure for cancer. And I've had the privilege of working with Dr. Kasim Rafiq, who works in cell and gene therapy, and the work they're doing in taking a therapy which has incredible potential, but without the ability to manufacture it on a scale to actually have CAR T cell therapy, which uses your own immune system to fight cancer. The ability to scale that up and make it a treatment that can address a societal need and do it on a scale that means it's affordable, it's fast, it's something which you can deliver. That to me it's world changing, it's health changing. And I think I can see that there are people I work with who've taken a degree from biochemical engineering and using it to apply something like that. Chika, Sebastian, Chika, what do you think you could do with a degree from biochemical engineering?
It feels like a bit of a trick question because the world's practically your oyster with a degree from biochemical engineering at UCL. But in terms of the sector itself, a lot of the people that have made quite big strides and a big impact in the sector, I think we're fortunate to say, have come from our department. A lot of them have come from our department. We talked a bit about startups and creating your own company. And a lot of other people then have gone on to have successful careers in a number of fields. Yes, there's finance, which is the obvious fish. But then a lot of people have gone into consultancy, a lot have gone into other areas of the healthcare system, into pharmaceutical companies, into regenerative medicine, into synthetic biology, into biofuels, the creation of biofuels. We've got our very own Dr. Brenda Parker making big strides in the area of using algae as a fuel. And also a lot of people have gone into management as well, into international health management in particular. So there's just a wealth of things that you could do with this degree. And I've not mentioned about research and staying in the department because I've talked about that before. But yeah, so I would say anything, to be honest.
Thank you, Sebastian. I've actually, this is really appropriate because what would you like to do with your degree from biochemical engineering?
That's a good question. Right now, you know, homemade beer, not homemade, but, you know, custom beer is interesting. And I think Mike's who does that. But I want to share two like very real life examples, very current. So that, you know, to show you that it really is not just talk, is very exciting. So, you know, there's a Pfizer vaccine, there's also the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine. What you may not know is that Oxford collaborates with our department, especially on the scale up, to actually make it accessible. So the Pfizer one, you have to keep at like -80 degrees. It's very expensive, very unstable. The Oxford one, it took a little longer, but it is much more stable. I think it's only like -20 normal freezer temperature, or -4, I think. And very distributable, which is very important if you actually want to reach a lot of people, especially in poor places. And one of our lecturers, he literally pulled up, this is Paul Dolby, you know, people literally at the top of the game. He's like, oh yeah, this is the stability data on the vaccine. We were running these tests and, you know, just flash it up casually. So when we say top of the game, like, and that was a couple of months before the vaccine was, you know, finally published. So very, you know, very relevant. The second thing, literally this morning, for a project we're working on, we met with a past student who is currently the technical director. His name is also Paul, forget his last name, at a company called 3F, 3F, I have it here, 3F Bio. And they are basically looking at using fungi, kind of like mushrooms, to do protein substitutes, and you put that into burgers, and it looks like it's going really well. A very big thing. He looks like, you know, he's having a very happy life, you know, and it looks like a good career. And you know, it's very relevant since the meat industry is quite environmentally impacting. And you know, he himself said, you know, I'm not any fanatic vegan, but it's like, how can we find a balance that is sustainable? So again, very practical. Literally this morning, there are lots of places you can go with it.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, oh, I have one more question come in. Bear with me. Okay, right. So what? There's a question about when offers are sent out. I think probably something to do, something administrative like that. Get in touch with me directly. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I'll pop an email address in the chat, and you can contact me directly about that. If there's anything to do with your application process, we're more than happy to help you. But the other question that's come in is, what does a starting salary look like for students being employed with our degrees? I'm gonna start off by saying I think it's between 28 to 30, so it's 26 to 30,000 pounds a year. But the difficulty with that is it's a relatively small cohort, so it's difficult to derive an average. But that's what I believe it's in uni stats. Alice, perhaps you'd like to tell me I'm completely wrong.
No, that's right, and it is kind of like small cohort data. So the last undergraduate starting salary data, the mean average was just over 30,000, which is kind of like high end for nationwide stats, and or kind of like around just over average of nationwide, and the faculty average I think is 36. And I bring that in not as a just to say that like what's happened, you know, it's a wide mix of salaries that are in there depending on what people have decided to do next. So I think, you know, graduates can go on to like the destinations that they want, and you know, there's good salaries to be had there, so you can be confident in kind of getting a good salary that you want. Take that data with a not a pinch of salt, it is the data, but it's sort of small cohort, and yeah, is sort of past data, but yeah, our graduates get good salaries and are very employable.
Bear in mind that I've worked with graduates who've gone on to work in the city, and you know, they've been on big starting salaries, and I know other people have gone to work on startups, and they've funded themselves for the first year. They've been on, you know, quite small salaries, but that's really what they want to do. So, you know, finding a mean in that lot can be very hard work. But
exactly, I think that's a really good point. If I could just come in, just to think about, like, success has many measures, and salary is one of them, but you know, it definitely isn't the only one. And particularly if you think about careers as being long, you know, what does success look like as first stage out of graduation and beyond. So it's really interesting to hear that alumni pathway that you mentioned, that they went into finance or investment banking, which is one measure of success, in, like, it has a large salary, and then, you know, kind of being in that position, actually kind of reflected and think, actually this doesn't sort of tick all the boxes for me, that there's a balance of actually what I value and how that's going to impact my decisions. So yeah, thinking about more broadly, and I'd encourage all of our attendees sort of thinking about what's next for them, like, you know, what does success look like more broadly as well.
Cool. Okay, well, I'm very grateful to everyone who joined us. I'm really grateful for your questions. They were great. Really enjoyed answering them. Thank you, Chika. Alice, thank you. Sebastian.
Kim, there's one more question.
Oh, fantastic. Great. We'll just see what that is. Okay. So this is, Chika, it's a difficult one to answer. But someone's asked, for someone who really likes the business side of things, would you recommend the business course, the BSc, instead of the MEng or the BEng? But I think, Chika, answer the question, but it's also, perhaps you could explain or just outline what optional modules people have to choose in the BEng and MEng. So it's not as clear a question to answer as you'd think at first.
Yes, so it's not the most straightforward question to answer. There is an answer that seems most obvious, which is obviously because we have a stream that has the business management side attached to it. That is something that is kind of threaded through the degree. But you also want to think about what you want to do after the degree as well. And whether, because with the BSc with bioprocess management, you are missing out on things that you may also enjoy in the BEng, MEng degree. And so it depends on what you want to do with the degree afterwards, I should stress that. So if you do enjoy business management side of things, I would recommend the BSc degree. And especially if that's something that you want to continue doing afterwards. What I will mention about the BEng, MEng degree, though, is that you do get a chance to take options where you will be able to choose modules that are business, that also collaborate with our School of Management in the faculty as well. So if you take the BEng, MEng, you're not at a loss, because you will get to do business management as an elective, and also as an IEP minor in your second year and third year. So it's not straightforward to answer, but you're not really missing out. If you choose the BEng, MEng degree, you get a range of skills-based learning that you don't necessarily get on the BSc. And you also get to choose electives in business management in doing the BEng, MEng degree. So in my opinion, there's more to gain by doing the BEng, MEng degree. But again, if you are someone that knows exactly what you're going to do after the degree, and you know that you're very kind of business focused, then the BSc is a good option. You can't go wrong with either one of them, to be honest.
Thank you. Okay, just going to give it a couple of moments if there are any questions that come in. If that doesn't answer your question, please add to it, and we'd be more than happy to address it there. But it's worth, as we said, it's worth looking at the list of modules in details. There's links through it, and they have details about the learning outcomes, the way it's taught, and also look at the structures, things like scenarios, which teach you have a learning process that's unique really to UCL engineering, and it means that you work in teams, you approach problems, and you embed learning in a way that's really desirable to employers, and will set you up really well for the workplace. It also helps flesh out your CV in a great way, in talking about problem solving, team working, leadership, the kind of things which are really useful when you're applying for a job. Okay, so unless there are any other questions coming in, I'm going to say thank you very much to everyone who's joined us. Thank you to everyone who's taken part. I hope you have a great day. If you've got any further questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. We're always happy to answer them. And I'll put a link through to the YouTube video with Sajni. It's really entertaining. It's got Pravina, who sadly couldn't make it today. She was taken ill, but we have Sebastian instead. So that link's in there. As I said, any questions, get in touch. But otherwise, thank you very much. Have a great afternoon. All the very best.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.